In residential outdoor applications, there isn't a specific limit on the number of receptacles you can connect to the load side of a 20-amp ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI. The key consideration is the total load connected to all those receptacles. This total load must not exceed 15 amps. This is because while the circuit breaker is rated for 20 amps, continuous load should not exceed 80% of the breaker's rating. 80% of 20 amps is 16 amps, but it's generally recommended to stay at or below 15 amps to provide a safety margin and accommodate for potential fluctuations in power draw. Let's delve into why this is the case. Firstly, understanding the purpose of a GFCI is crucial. A GFCI is designed to protect people from electrical shock by monitoring the current flowing into and out of a circuit. If there's an imbalance, meaning some current is leaking to ground, the GFCI quickly trips, cutting off power to prevent a dangerous situation. This is particularly important in outdoor locations where moisture in contact with the ground to increase the risk of electrical shock. Secondly, the National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides guidelines for safe electrical installations. While the 2002 NEC doesn't explicitly state a limit on the number of receptacles on a 20-amp GFCI circuit, it does emphasize the importance of not overloading the circuit. Overloading a circuit can lead to overheating of wires, insulation damage, and potentially electrical fires. Thirdly, let's consider the practical implications of connecting multiple receptacles to a single 20-amp GFCI circuit. Each receptacle can have various appliances or devices plugged into it. If the combined current draw of all these devices exceeds 15 amps, the circuit will be overloaded, potentially tripping the GFCI or the circuit breaker. To ensure safe and reliable operation, it's essential to calculate the total load connected to the circuit. This involves adding up the amperage ratings of all the devices that will be plugged in simultaneously. The amperage rating can usually be found on the device's nameplate or label. Fourthly, to illustrate this with an example, suppose you have several outdoor receptacles connected to a 20-amp GFCI circuit. If you plan to use a power drill that draws 5 amps, a hedge trimmer that draws 3 amps, and a string trimmer that draws 2 amps simultaneously, the total load would be 10 amps. This is within the 15-amp limit, so the circuit should operate without any issues. However, if you were to add a pressure washer that draws 8 amps to the same circuit, the total load would increase to 18 amps, exceeding the limit and potentially causing problems. Fifthly, another factor to consider is the type of load connected to the circuit. Continuous loads, which are defined as loads that operate for 3 hours or more, should not exceed 80% of the circuit breaker's rating. This is to prevent overheating of the wires and other components of the circuit. If you have a continuous load, such as outdoor lighting that operates for several hours each day, you should factor this into your load calculations. Sixthly, when planning your outdoor electrical installations, it's always a good idea to consult with a qualified electrician. An electrician can assess your specific needs, determine the appropriate circuit sizing, and ensure that your installation complies with all applicable electrical codes. They can also help you choose the right type of GFCI protection for your application. Seventhly, in addition to the load considerations, it's also important to ensure that the wiring and other components of the circuit are properly sized for the 20-amp circuit. This includes using appropriately sized wires, connectors, and junction boxes. Undersized wiring can overheat and cause a fire hazard. Eighthly, when installing outdoor receptacles, it's important to choose weather-resistant receptacles that are designed for outdoor use. These receptacles are typically made of durable materials that can withstand exposure to moisture, sunlight, and other environmental factors. They also have weatherproof covers that protect the receptacles from rain and snow. Ninthly, grounding is another critical aspect of electrical safety. All outdoor receptacles should be properly grounded to provide a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock. The grounding system should be installed in accordance with the NEC and other applicable codes. Tenthly, regular inspections and maintenance are essential to ensure the continued safe operation of your outdoor electrical system. Inspect the receptacles, wiring, and GFCI protection regularly for any signs of damage or deterioration. If you notice any problems, have them repaired immediately by a qualified electrician. 11thly, it's also important to educate yourself and others about electrical safety. Teach children and other family members about the dangers of electricity and how to use electrical equipment safely. Post warning signs near electrical hazards and make sure everyone knows how to respond in case of an electrical emergency. 12thly, when working with electricity, always take precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock. Wear rubber gloves and safety glasses, and avoid working in wet conditions. Disconnect power to the circuit before working on any electrical components. If you're not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician to do the work for you. 13thly, GFCI receptacles are designed to trip when they detect a ground fault, which is an unintentional electrical path between a live conductor and ground. This can happen when a person comes into contact with a live wire or when there's a short circuit in an appliance. When a GFCI trips, it's important to investigate the cause of the trip before resetting the receptacle. If the GFCI trips repeatedly, there may be a more serious problem that needs to be addressed by a qualified electrician. 14thly, some GFCI receptacles have a test button that allows you to verify that the GFCI is functioning properly. It's a good idea to test your GFCI receptacles regularly to ensure that they're providing adequate protection. The test button simulates a ground fault, causing the GFCI to trip. If the GFCI doesn't trip when you press the test button, it may be defective and need to be replaced. 15thly, when replacing a GFCI receptacle, it's important to choose a replacement that is rated for the same amperage and voltage as the original receptacle. You should also follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully when installing the new receptacle. If you are not comfortable replacing the GFCI receptacle yourself, hire a qualified electrician to do it for you. 16thly, surge protection is another important consideration for outdoor electrical systems. Surges in voltage can damage sensitive electronic equipment, such as televisions, computers, and appliances. Surge protectors can help to protect your equipment from damage by diverting excess voltage away from the equipment. 17thly, outdoor lighting can enhance the beauty and safety of your property. When choosing outdoor lighting fixtures, it's important to select fixtures that are designed for outdoor use and are properly grounded. You should also consider the amount of light that the fixtures produce and the direction in which the light is aimed. 18thly, low voltage lighting is a popular option for outdoor lighting. Low voltage lighting systems use a transformer to reduce the voltage from 120 volts to 12 volts, making them safer to install and operate. Low voltage lighting fixtures are also more energy efficient than traditional 120 volt fixtures. 19thly, when installing outdoor electrical wiring, it's important to bury the wiring deep enough to protect it from damage. The NEC specifies the minimum burial depth for different types of wiring. You should also use conduit to protect the wiring from physical damage, such as from digging or gardening. 20thly, it's also important to keep outdoor electrical equipment clean and free of debris. Leaves, dirt, and other debris can accumulate around electrical equipment, potentially causing overheating or other problems. Regularly clean the equipment to ensure that it's operating properly. 21stly, remember that electrical codes and regulations can vary depending on your location. It's important to check with your local building department or a qualified electrician to ensure that your electrical installations comply with all applicable codes. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your outdoor electrical system is safe, reliable, and compliant with all applicable codes. Always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when working with electricity.